Man, what's good with you, man? This is Algernon Hall, aka the Dream Catcher, your dream coach, man. And I'm out here. It's about 4:30 in the morning. I'm getting my body right, my mind's already right, my spirit's right. And we just gonna continue this train, this unstoppable train to awaken our dreams, man. And let me just catch my breath. I'm a little hoarse. We had some assemblies last week, it was powerful, and I'm still recovering, so please just bear with my voice, man. And last week we started a series called the Powerful You series, and it truly was powerful. We talked about affirming our power. And if you haven't seen the episode, I encourage you to go back, but we talked about oxygen. We made the analogy between oxygen and carbon monoxide, and how oxygen is odorless, it's colorless, but it's something necessary, it's vital for us to live. And what that is our thoughts, what we put into our hearts, what we put into our minds, our confidence, what we say about ourselves, and really speaking life into ourselves until it becomes rooted in our heart, and then it permeates outwards. And then we talked about carbon monoxide, that stinking thinking that's also colorless and odorless, that we feed ourselves, our doubt, our fears, and how we need to push it out. And this week I want to talk to you about something called work. That's right, work, baby. And people fail to understand about there's a process to be successful. People don't understand that there's a process of where we got to go to A to Z to be successful, and that's called work. We got to do our work. We got to do our due diligence. We got to put in hours, and that's going to be the topic today. And so the first thing I wanted to talk about is just developing ridiculous work ethic. Developing ridiculous work ethic. And what that simply means is just developing a culture, man, so you could just work towards your goal, work towards your dream, and work towards being successful. And as I began to look at this topic, I started to think about an interview. I watched a lot of YouTube videos, on success and motivation, and what brought to mind was an interview with Will Smith and Tavis Smiley. And Will was talking about particular conversation that he was having with some of his friends, and in that conversation he was talking about the difference between him and everybody else. And what he simply said is this one thing: like, he may not be the smartest, he may not be the best looking, he may not be the most talented, but the bottom line is he's not afraid to die on a treadmill. What does that mean? He said that if two people got on the treadmill, him and another person, and they're competing for something, a particular part or whatever it is, either two things is gonna happen. Either number one, that other person's gonna get off, or he's gonna die on that treadmill. So the bottom line is he's not giving up. He's gonna work until he reaches his goal, his desire, and I thought that was powerful. And people don't understand, like, some people were born with silver spoons in their mouth. Some people had an inheritance of money, and that's what brought them into success. But most people, most successful people, they weren't gifted. They just worked hard and they succeeded on purpose. So developing a ridiculous work ethic, that's something that you do on purpose. That's something that you have to do. I was recalling a thought that I had when I showed up, and I remember when I showed up at Alabama State University in 1991, I had to declare a major. And all majors, those that have went to school or have obtained some type of certification, there's requirements that you have to obtain so you can get that status or that degree or that certification. There's requirements. You can't take an alternate route. There are electives, but in order for you to get that degree, to get that certification, you got to take the requirements. Well, it's no different with success. It's no different with awakening your dreams. It's no different than succeeding in life. There's requirements, things that you have to put in, and that's ridiculous work ethic. It's a requirement. People want success now. People want microwavable success, what I call it. And it's funny because when people are starving, they take shortcuts. When we're hungry, think about it. When you're hungry, you're starving, you've been ripping and running all day, you need something now, so you see that McDonald's, you see that Burger King, you see that Wendy's, whatever that fast food, you see that Checkers, right? You want it now, but is that good for you? You're taking shortcuts. But when people are hungry, people think about, oh, I'm hungry. Oh, I have a taste for this. Oh, I want this. You think about where you want to go to that restaurant. You go to that restaurant. You sit down at that restaurant. You look at a menu. You order what you want, what you have a taste for, what you desire. Then you order. You place that order. You send it in the bag. And then what happens is the cook, the chef, what they do is they prepare it. They season it. They put everything, all the good ingredients in it. They go through a process to make that thing taste good, to make it taste like what it looks like. Then what happens is they put it in the oven and they allow those ingredients, those seasonings to all come together. so it can be a masterpiece. That's hungry. So don't be starving for success. Just be hungry for it. Be hungry for it and develop that culture of ridiculous work ethic. Number two, man. Number two is log in your hours. You gotta log in your hours, and what brings to mind is a book by Malcolm Gladwell called The Outliers. And if you haven't read the book, I encourage you to read it, but he talks about the 10,000 hour rule. And in that 10,000 hour rules, he makes an analogy about the Beatles. You know the Beatles, the rock and roll band back in the 60s, the most phenomenal band, the greatest band to ever touch the planet. So what happened was he talked about that story of how they began. And how they began was in a bar in Liverpool, England. And he talked about how average they were. How average. Remember what I said? Most successful people are not gifted. They just work hard and succeed on purpose. Well, that was the Beatles. The Beatles was an average band, but what made them great, what made them extraordinary, what made them phenomenal was they were playing in this bar 8 hours a day, 7 days a week. 8 hours a day, 7 days a week, over and over and over again. Extraordinary work ethic and logging in hours. You got to log in some hours. If you want to be an expert, if you want to be exceptional in anything what you're doing, you got to log in hours. You got to put in work. It's no different than me getting in front of this camera. I think about where I was on January 1st. I think about where I am now. I think about where I'm going to be in 6 months. I think about where I'm going to be in a year. I think about where I'm going to be in 5 years. There's a process that you have to go through. You can't microwave your success. You got to go through the process. So you got to log in your hours. I don't know what that means. I don't know if, you know, just like if you wanna go to law school, there's certain requirements. You got to log in hours. You got to study. If you're trying to lose weight, you got to log in hours. You got to run. You got to run a marathon runner. You got to prepare. You got to log in hours. You got to put in work. If you're in a relationship and you want any relationship to work, you got to put in the work. You got to log in hours. Work, baby, work. So that's our takeaway today. That's part 2. Work. Let's make it happen. We got dreams, we got stuff. Yeah, you got all that. But how you gonna get it out? Work. So man, the takeaways is this, man. Develop ridiculous work ethic. I mean, sickening work ethic. And number 2, what you gotta do is log in your hours. Don't try to rush it. Log in your hours for success and watch what happens. Man, this is Algernon Hall. Man, thank you so much for tuning in for this episode 13. Man, it was real for me. I hope it was real for you. Man, let's come back next week for part 3, man, so we can continue this train, this unstoppable train to pursue our dreams. Man, let's change the world. Man, let me go get this workout. I'm out.
Refuse to compete with BS competition. Your name is special, so won't you suckle with the mission? I never walk the street, think it's all about me, even though deep in my heart